Yo, what's up chefs? Hope you're having a good time in the dungeons. In this video, I'm going to be showcasing how I got over 3200 AP in just 2 runs from my session earlier today. Let's get into it. Hopping straight into it, I get a pretty good spawn in the top left corner of the map, which puts me really close to Cyclops. There's a pretty nasty combo of goblins that always greet you right after you spawn in here though, consisting of a mage, bola slinger, and an axe boy. Go ahead and clean them up real quick, and then there's always a lion's head and or golden chest that spawns in the alcove behind them as well, which I grab real quick for the treasure. Following that, I go ahead and break the barricade, kill just the death beetle so it doesn't follow me up the ladder to the door and start spitting on my booty cheeks. Hold up. Anyways, and then I just start making my way to the Cyclops. Hop through this door real quick, hellfire the spider pot before flame walking down the stairs to deal with the remaining spiders. Now I'm at the Cyclops, and I'll just say in advance that I was really sloppy with my Cyclops kill this run, and thankfully didn't have anybody show up to counterboss me while I was killing it, which does happen incredibly often. Currently, my strategy for killing the Cyclops involves closing the door I come in through, and then immediately shimmying over to the opposite door and leaving it open. I find that 9 times out of 10 when I get counterbossed, it's from the door I came in through, because if someone wants to come in through the other door I leave open, they have to first deal with the ads in the room above the boss, which usually doesn't happen. Ultimately, this way if someone does decide to counterboss, I can just run to the open door to reset the boss and then act accordingly. Moving on, in regards to actually fighting the Cyclops, I'll start with that I think this boss has a disaster of a design, primarily due to the RNG related to the rocks falling directly on your head during the rock fall phase, and doing a ludicrous amount of unavoidable damage. And no, before you say it, it doesn't have to do with mistiming your jump, specifically the rocks falling on your head. I know people like to argue about this, and I've gotten into a few heated discussions with other players about whether or not that's even a thing, but I can assure you it is. Ryan 6 Days a Week has a really good video that explains this mechanic in extensive detail. I know I'm going to get called out for my yapping at this point, but oh well. Finally, there aren't a ton of guides online about how to kill the Cyclops effectively and consistently without dying. I personally have lost thousands of gold worth of kits to this boss. I've seen Vincent, the rank 1 solo ranger, lose a 50,000 gold kit to the boss, and I know there are plenty of other clips out there of other very skilled players losing kits worth even more than that. In my opinion, there are only a few ways to have a high success rate with the Cyclops, and they're as follows. The way I'm currently using, which is Torture Mastery Warlock with a reasonable amount of magical healing and Hellfire spamming while using Phantom Eyes as a get out of jail free card. It takes just 2 Hellfires to push the boss out of the rockfall phase, and I think one of the reasons I really like this method is because if you get into the rockfall phase and ever fall victim to the rocks dropping directly on your dome scheme, you can just phantomize out of the room through the open door and restart the boss. It does suck in regards to wasting precious time for AP, but it has certainly saved my kit a number of times and even does so in this video. The only other method I'm aware of that results in a safe and consistent way to kill it is a very high PDR set. I'm talking 40 to 50+% on either preferably a melee Warlock build that runs Shadow Touch to just out-heal the rockfall phase, or I'd assume it would work similarly as good on Fighter or Bard as well, but you'd have to be rocking a mean Bard set to have that much PDR. Additionally, I know it can be done on Bard, Rogue, Ranger, and probably other classes / builds as well, but I personally wouldn't want to be trying to do it in those situations. If the Cyclops used his eye beam here, I probably would have died since I was pretty far away from him, but I knew he was extremely close to being dead since I had just finished the 3rd and final rockfall phase and decided to just risk it and get it over with. Following the kill, I will always go ahead and heal up first before interacting with the boss loot or making my way downstairs to the gold pile room to ensure I have a better chance at fighting if someone decides to come in now that they've heard the sound that's made when the boss dies. Moving forward, I go ahead and close the door that I left open during the fight and make my way downstairs and start looting. There isn't too much to cover here, but there are some neat tips and tricks I'll impart upon you guys if you're interested. If not, feel free to skip ahead to the time shown on screen for the next meaningful part / some PvP. As for the tips, number 1, I'd recommend closing the door that leads downstairs, which can be done by looking directly into the wall and searching around a bit for the interaction icon to pop up. Number 2, make sure the entire top 2 rows of your inventory are completely clear for every hit of the gold pile. I've had multiple instances of having just my consumables in my inventory, but still missing out on an item because the whole top row gets filled up, and then something that must have either been a 2x5 or 1x5 or something similar gets lost to the void. Easiest way to do this is to just drag your consumables down to the bottom while you're hitting the pile, and I've never missed out on an item this way. Number 3, if you find any luck gear in the chest like I did, or if you're really sweaty and are bringing in a 40 luck pendant or luck rings, go ahead and throw those on as well at this time. The only other thing worth noting that I can think of is just to create a few different piles of loot to drop stuff in after every hit, as to once again, make sure you don't miss out on any items. Personally, I use 1 pile for green treasure, 1 pile for blue and above treasure, and then 1 discard pile for stuff that I know I won't end up taking. Finishing up the last hit of the pile at this point, and as I'm gathering up all my hard-earned goodies, I hear someone open the door from the middle loot room, and I'm unfortunately not able to pick up the cloak I came in with because my inventory is rather full. Quickly realizing that it's a ranger, which is definitely one of Torture Mastery Warlock's worst matchups, I was a bit nervous, but he didn't seem to be hitting that hard, and there's just no shot I was going to leave my cloak behind and get punked like that. So I quickly run upstairs and go for a quick reset before running back down to grab my cloak and take the fight. I drink a protection pot in advance of running back down, grab my cloak, and then start pursuing him while making sure to keep myself healthy the whole time. At this point, he's built up some distance on me, and if I felt like he was particularly geared, I probably would have just called it and not chased him down this hallway, which is a seriously bad area for me to be taking this fight. However, even if he was geared, I ended up putting the moves on him, and he ended up missing / I ended up dodging all of his shots as I closed the gap. Next, I thought this curse missing was just a bit whack because the exact frame that the little red line shoots from my hand, my crosshair is directly on him, but the red line is going off up to the left for some reason. But that might be normal, and I might just need to get a bit better with the timing of the curse coming out. Now, this one though, I'm gonna be straight. I have no idea what happened here. My crosshair was never in the position that the line ended up going, but even with that being the case, I mean, how did this not hit? I saw Youthafro made a video or a short, I can't remember, talking about this type of stuff, and yeah, I don't know, this one was just pretty heinous if you ask me. Anyways, the chase continues. He's already eaten a full curse at this point, and he's starting to take some storm damage, so even though he put some moves on me, to be honest, it was a matter of time before I caught up to him and finished him off. And at this point, it was pretty obvious that he likely had the loot from the troll's gold pile, so it was definitely a really nice kill to get in regards to maxing out my AP for this run. Next, I'm just doing some inventory management, which involves dropping pretty much all of my consumables and completely filling up on the highest quality treasure I could find from his inventory. Moving on, I realize I have a relatively low amount of time left in the match, so I just run through the storm directly to the static extract at the bottom left of the map. And that concludes the first run. As you can see, that was a pretty solid match, totaling up to 1546 AP, with a net gain of 946 after the entrance fee, which at the time was one of my better runs, but definitely still gets beat out by the next one, which is probably my best so far. Unfortunately for this one, I wasn't actually recording and only have clips from the match, but with that being said, I don't think you guys need and or would want to watch me kill the Cyclops again, so I think it worked out okay. We're starting off here with me picking up all my goodies from the gold pile and then checking the middle loot room since it's pretty common at this point for someone to have killed the troll. I'm kind of just flame walking everywhere in here on my way to the troll pile due to my severe paranoia of getting landmined. Finally getting to the troll loot room, I'm thinking it's pretty likely that there'll be someone in here since the middle room hadn't already been looted, so I go ahead and pop a health pot and protection pot in advance of making my way in. Here, I make an almost very critical error, which was getting distracted by the shiny things on the ground, because as I mentioned earlier, here comes the landmine. I was pretty blessed by the fact that this guy only had a blue dagger and some mediocre gear, as well as having dark reflection and my protection pot still being active, so I was able to win the fight. Go ahead and heal up, plus some inventory management once again, and then book it on over to the final circles. At the end here, I just finished up with some AP maxing by killing as many mobs as I can find, opening up every portal, which does give you additional AP, before finally making my way out. As I let the rest of this run play out in 2x speed, I wanted to take a quick second to say that I can't appreciate you guys enough for the support on my last video. It was honestly crazy the amount of feedback and positive energy that was displayed in the comments, and as much as people like to talk about the dark and darker community being divisive and or a bunch of crybabies, Todd father, no offense because I love that guy's videos, or just whatever new insults people are throwing around in the general chat of the official Discord server on any given day, I think it's quite clear that's not always the case. Keeping a close eye on the comments of the last video in preparation for giving away all of the gold that was made during the creation of it on the 15th, which is going to end up being 3k gold to each of the top 3 comments as of the 15th. So if you haven't already dropped a comment there and want a chance at some free gold, go ahead and cook up something funny or interesting and go type it up before it's too late. Finally, I just wanted to give a quick heads up about some of my upcoming videos, since some of them are at the request of previous comments, and currently the things I've got lined up are an in-depth and comprehensive solo Warlock guide, which will be going into a fair bit of detail on pretty much everything from all of the different viable builds, to bossing, to strategies for different matchups in PvP, stats, gear, what routes I like to take. Pretty much if it has to do with Warlock and solos, it should be in there. Additionally, I've got a video for a unique bard build that was requested that I'm tokening as the Goofy Flutist, which tries to really focus in on using the flute as a weapon by maxing out my piercing shrill damage, and I'll just say in advance that that build actually ended up feeling damn near OP. I took out a 190 HP barb in multiple legendaries with plus all everywhere he could get it, and not just that, but he didn't even touch me once. Other than that, the only other thing I really want to touch on is a pretty unique Warlock build that is specific to duos in the Ice Caves that is an absolute powerhouse. No one has really talked about it too much as far as I'm aware, so definitely be on the lookout for what's coming up.
Oh, it's the guy! It's the same guy! Oh my god!
And last but not least, take it easy, chefs.
Your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away.